I won't lie to you, Shepard. Things look bad. A rogue Spectre's trouble. It's Saren. He hates humans.
Set the charges. Destroy the entire colony.
He has an army of Geth at his command, and he won't stop until he's wiped humanity from the galaxy.
I'll find some way to take him down.
On a high level, a lot of what we're trying to do with Mass Effect is make it feel like you have dropped down inside your favorite, best science fiction movies, which typically, I think for us anyway, are from like the late 70s, early 80s, and they do have a very film-like presence. It's kind of like an ambient feeling, and the music and things like that are some of the stuff that we're trying to emulate, and just that overall feeling of, I think, what a lot of people think is like classic science fiction.
We finally got to see the character creation. At last, BioWare has delivered unto us the character creation, which was always promised to be super, super, super in-depth, kind of like Oblivion.
It looks super, super, super in-depth.
Yeah.
And so far, it looks like the characters perhaps won't look quite as ugly as they do in Oblivion.
In Oblivion, it's like this, and this was very, very subtle. And the fact that the textures on the skin are a lot more convincing, and the way that it's lit does actually look like a fine-tuning rather than making someone look ridiculous.
Plus, they're all human, it seems like.
Yeah.
So, we won't be dealing with any kind of lizard peoples.
Yeah, and they just had a more modern look. Like, they look like what you would expect in a sci-fi video game, instead of a sort of like
LARPing.
Weird medieval
D&D.
medieval RPG kind of thing that it's like, okay, this is the person I'll play in a video game, but I don't want to hang out with them. These people look like they look like normal people.
Shepard was clearly made, that the character we've seen in all the videos so far is clearly just the default using the editor, and he looks so much better than pretty much any other character we've seen built with one of those things. I mean, it looks better than the home characters or the Oblivion characters. I mean, he looks like he looks like that intentionally.
Your ship's amazing, Shepard. I've never seen a drive core like this before. I can't believe you were able to fit it into a ship this small. I'm starting to understand why you humans have been so successful. I had no idea Alliance vessels were so advanced.
I don't like the idea of aliens studying the architecture of Alliance ships.
We're on the same side here. My people have more reason to hate the Geth than anyone, remember? But you can't blame me for being a little excited. I never dreamed I'd get a chance to travel on a ship as advanced as the Normandy.
So did you read the novel?
Yes.
Keith, did you read the novel?
I'm in the novel.
That's still on
Carla
my...
Sanders, huh?
Yeah, Carly Sanders.
Carly, yeah. So I thought what was interesting in
You read the novel?
Sure.
We both did. We prepared for this conversation.
Yeah.
It's still on my to-do list.
Haven't?
Like, Shepard's the first human Spectre, which also explains why you can only be a human, because that's very important to the story. And the novel actually tells about the first time humanity really has any dealing with the Spectres, and the story leading up to that.
Shepard, your species needs to learn its place.
One of the observations which ties in nicely with the Shepard model is that in the future humanity is such a sort of mixed bag of races that everyone has a little bit of everything in them. And I think Shepard is sort of the personification of that. Humanity is spread so thinly across the galaxy that everyone is kind of like that, which kind of explains why the game has a certain look with the humans in it at the moment. I mean, looking from the editor, it looks like you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, I finally got to play it at E3, was the first time I was able to get my hands on it, you know, and I'm always worried about games like this because, like, whenever they try to blend, like, RPG elements with shooter elements, like, it seems like in trying to blend those two, they kind of make both weaker, they neuter both.
Yeah.
At E3, I was a little worried because some of the AI on some of the enemies, I was like, well, why isn't he shooting me? He's on the bridge. But we just recently got this footage from like one of their latest builds, and the frame rate's improved, and I can tell that the enemies on the bridge are shooting at me now.
And I really loved seeing the interface for the command system, because I think that's been a big mystery, is how do you control these
three people? Yeah,
your 3-person team in real time, and I was really happy to see.
We've seen several versions of this now, but this new one with the circular interface with the characters and the actions that you want them to take all sort of done with the stick seems so much more intuitive.
Yeah, it worked so much better.
It seems like you'll get really used to each team member's assortment of skills, and you'll be like, okay, I know where that is, and it's easy and quick, and it doesn't have to interfere much with the mission.
You actually use your guys like kind of in tandem with yourself, but it's very simple, like single button presses. It's created for me some of the funnest things I've seen. Like there's a few games out there that do this where, you know, I'm going to flank the guy, but then someone nails him with the throw and he goes like flying by the screen. I'm flying into a wall. I go, oh, I'm worried about that guy. And you're thinking, well, that was me, but it wasn't exactly me. It was my party. But we're all still a unit, and it's actually really neat when those things happen. And that's what the game's all set up to do.
I'm really excited about the vehicle.
Yeah.
Having seen how it can like hop to avoid flaming missiles headed its way, it looks really fun and really cool. I've always been a little bit nervous about navigating a vehicle in a BioWare RPG, even if it's an action game. But the latest footage we've seen just looks fun.
When they first showed it, my first inclination was like, oh, really?
It seems kind of like a win button too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem to take damage, and you can just like annihilate people with it. But you know, that's just on the first perimeter.
But it's so far beyond those turret mini games or the other mini games that have been in KOTOR, where it's just like it takes you totally out of the game almost.
Right.
This is like an action element, and I can't believe I'm the one talking about it. I'm excited about the driving mini game.
Tell me about yourself, Liara.
Me? I am afraid I am not very interesting, Commander. I spend most of my time on remote digs, unearthing mundane items buried in long-forgotten Prothean ruins.
Sounds dangerous. And lonely.
Sometimes I would run afoul of indigenous life forms or stumble across a small band of mercenaries or privateers, but I was always careful. Until the Geth followed me to Artemis Tau, I never found myself in any situation my biotics could not handle. As for the solitude, well, that is one aspect that most appealed to me. Sometimes I just need to get away from other people.
When we first showed the conversation system, for example, I think that was at last year's E3, that was the very first time that for us in Mass Effect we had those few conversations representing the way that we wanted the final game to look. And we pushed that quality all the way up to the gold standard that we want Mass Effect to look and play like. But those were the only ones that existed in the whole game at that quality. And then since then, we start building out the rest of the game and make the whole story, and then start raising the overall quality up and add the polish. Right now, we're able to really go to pretty much any part in the entire game, and it's all at that gold standard.
The Normandy is your ship in the game. It's effectively the base of operations, and there's a couple of neat things on the ship. First of all, of course, is the galaxy map on the bridge. As the commander of the ship, you can get up there, and that's effectively how you decide where you go in the galaxy. All your crew's on there, your crew, so you can actually talk to crew that isn't part of your squad, and just like chat with them about the universe and the ship and what's going on, as well as your party members and like the people you travel with.
Hey, Commander. Looking for some extra supplies before you head out?
What have you got?
Whatever you want. Armor, weapons, mods. It's not standard Alliance issue, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
They have their agendas. You want to try and kind of figure out what they want to do and see if you can work that into what you're doing in the game, but also getting to know them and getting to know the universe.
My stuff doesn't come from the Alliance. I have to purchase it myself, and it's not cheap. Hell, the licenses alone have set me back more than I'd like. But no licenses, no goods. Without the goods, I'm out of a job. You can always try your hand at the workbench if money's an issue.
There's workbenches where you can actually build stuff, like the Mako sits in there and all this kind of stuff. So it's almost like the microcosm of the whole game is in there.
What's amazing to me is just the scope of the game, because they were telling us that you could talk to one of the main characters. What was his name?
He's a Krogan, which is this big sort of dinosaur-looking dude, and he's called Rex, and he's a bounty hunter. And there's only a few of them in the game because there's a lot of sort of race conflict in the game. And he kind of calls you over and congratulates you for hitting this base or killing this guy or something. And that can be the only encounter that you have with him. Or I guess you could choose to ignore him completely when he beckons you over. And so we've seen him as part of your party, leading towards a fairly climactic decision, which will dictate which path one of the things that will dictate which path you're going down, good or evil. But if you choose at the point where he beckons you over to ignore him, he's a character, an entire storyline, and a whole bunch of background about the universe of the game that you can just cut out completely and not bother with.
You Krogan live for centuries. Don't tell me you haven't had a few interesting adventures.
Well, there was this one time the Turians almost wiped out our entire race. That was fun.
They tried the same with us, but we fought them off.
It's not the same.
It seems similar enough to me.
So your people were infected with a genetic mutation? An infection that makes only a few in 1,000 children survive birth? And I suppose it's destroying your entire species?
You're still here. It can't be all that bad.
I don't expect you to understand, but don't compare humanity's fate with the Krogan.
One of the key things we're always going for with all of our games, and Mass Effect's a wonderful example of it, is sort of like the water cooler talk around my experience. Like, my experience is different than your experience. Like, you can choose or not choose to pick up certain party members. You can choose or not choose to blow up this base or save this base. There's all these choices you make, and then when you and I sit down and discuss the game, it sounds like we're talking about different games.
So in our water cooler conversation, I could be telling stories about things me and Rex were doing across the galaxy, and you're like, who the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, no, literally.
I wasn't trying to upset you.
Your ignorance doesn't upset me, Shepard. As for the Krogan, I gave up on them long ago.
When you have certain experiences with a character and you've played with them that long, and then you have really important things that happen with them on a kind of an emotional level. The idea that your friend who's played it didn't even bring him along, and has had nothing of that, but maybe has had other stuff, that would be almost hard to believe that it's all in the same game.
How many times am I going to have to play this to really see the whole game and really get a grasp of everything that there is here? It's kind of amazing.
I can't believe you guys making me want to read the
I know, right?
visualization.
I mean, it's not the best written book ever, but it's written by the guy that wrote the game, so it is very tight. It's not someone's interpretation of what the doctors told them. It's like, it is the background, and it finishes up explaining why you're on the mission that you are in the game. It's all about Saren and why he's the bad guy and what he did to get there. They've bitten off a lot, and I think, if the main game is 10-20 hours, it sounds like with these side missions there's going to be a lot just exploring characters and the racial stuff in the game.
Going through again and doing things very differently. It's going to be a lot. Good luck reviewing it.